At 6:21 local time, the surface search radar pings once, then again. A new contact appears off the starboard bow. No warning, no slow merge, just a sharp mark on the screen moving toward the bridge. No one says a word. The officer of the deck watches the bearing hold steady at 271, while the range drops faster than expected. Inside the Combat Information Center, the tracker reports it in a calm, even voice. New surface contact, course change observed. Closing speed increasing. The ship continues on at 18 knots, engine steady, wake clean. But the approaching vessel is anything but steady. At 6:21, the unknown ship shifts 5 degrees to port. That one small move places it on an intercept course. The CPA updates automatically. 1.9 nautical miles. Too close to feel accidental. The bridge-to-bridge radio crackles to life. Unidentified surface vessel, this is a United States Navy warship operating in international waters. State your intentions. Only static answers. High-resolution optics swing forward. Steel hull, gray paint, military outline. Not a merchant vessel. The contact picks up speed to 22 knots. Its bow wave sharpens. Dark exhaust thickens behind it. In CIC, emissions control stays tight. Passive only, every detail logged. As the track develops, the tactical display fills in more information. Hull shape matches a Russian Navy surface combatant. No flags, no signals, just speed, angle, and intent. On the bridge, the captain steps forward, eyes fixed on the horizon. His voice stays low. It does not need to rise. Maintain course, maintain speed. The order is not about bravado, it is procedure. At 6:24, CPA drops again, 1.4 nautical miles. The Russian ship adjusts just enough to keep the pressure on. Parallel courses, unsafe distance. Another radio call goes out, same wording, same controlled tone. Still nothing. Below deck, systems continue their steady hum. Fire control radars remain inactive, but the 5-inch gun mount shifts a few degrees. Enough to be noticed, not enough to raise the stakes. Cameras zoom in tighter. Crew members are now visible on the Russian deck. Helmets on, no weapons manned. This is not drift. This is deliberate pressure. At 6:27, the Russian vessel surges to 25 knots. CPA, 1.1 nautical miles. Time to closest approach, 4 minutes. In CIC, the watch supervisor marks the sequence. Every bearing shift, every knot of speed, every second recorded and time-stamped. Electronic support measures detect a brief pulse. Low-power surface search radar from the Russian ship. They are watching too. The captain gives a single nod. Log it. From the bridge wing, a lookout confirms visual contact. The distance feels tighter than the numbers suggest. The calm sea only makes it more unsettling. At 6:30, the Russian ship stays on its line. No turn away, no acknowledgement. The space between the hulls now feels dangerously real. Steel and momentum separated only by water and discipline. Another update comes in. CPA has fallen below 1 nautical mile. That is not just a technical threshold, it is a practical one. At this distance, there is no margin for mistakes. The captain gives the next command. Prepare airborne asset, stand by only, no launch, not yet. This is still pressure, not open confrontation. The Russian bow cuts hard through the swell, throwing spray outward. Its wake begins to overlap the American ship's track. A final radio call goes out, shorter this time, sharper. Russian naval vessel, you are conducting unsafe maneuvers. Alter course immediately. Silence. On the bridge, no one looks away. In CIC, no one misses a beat. This is where missteps turn into history, where a few yards can change everything. And as the clock moves past 6:32, with the distance still closing, and neither ship giving way, one fact becomes impossible to ignore. This is no longer just about navigation. It is about who breaks first. At 6:33 local time, the range slips below 1 nautical mile. The Russian ship does not turn. It does not slow. Instead, it holds position just off the American ship's starboard quarter, close enough for hull numbers to be read through optics, close enough for the wake turbulence to begin crossing over. This is no longer routine passage. Inside the Combat Information Center, the tracker speaks with the same steady tone as before. Contact maintaining parallel course. Speed holds at 25 knots. The American ship stays at 18, and that gap changes everything. Every extra knot from the Russian vessel tightens the angles. Every passing second without a course change cuts down the room to react. On the bridge, the officer of the deck glances toward the helmsman. Hands remain steady, heading locked. No evasive move, no sign of backing down. The Russian ship edges another 10 meters closer. Not enough to trip collision alarms, but more than enough to make the message clear. A fresh calculation flashes across the tactical display. CPA, 0.7 nautical miles. That number seems to linger. Below deck, the ship remains at condition 3. No alarms, no pounding footsteps, just controlled readiness. Long-range cameras stay fixed on the Russian bridge wing. Officers are visible now, binoculars raised. They are watching every move the Americans make, which, for now, is almost none. The 5-inch gun mount shifts again. Slow, intentional, not aimed, but aligned. Inside CIC, the electronic warfare console lights for a moment. Another brief pulse from the Russian ship. Low power, surface search radar. They are checking range, confirming the closure. The captain steps closer to the chart table, voice even, controlled. Log all emissions, continue recording. No one asked for an explanation. None is needed. At 6:36, the Russian vessel eases its bow inward. It is barely a turn, more like a suggestion of one. The American ship gives no response. By now, the water between them is churning, their wakes colliding, pressure fields crossing in ways naval architects never like to see. At this range, hydrodynamics matter as much as intent. One bad rudder input, one unexpected swell, and steel meets steel. The bridge-to-bridge radio crackles again. Russian naval vessel, you are creating a collision hazard. Alter course. Still no reply. The silence is part of the maneuver. In CIC, a junior watchstander swallows hard. The supervisor never looks over. His eyes stay fixed on the plot. This is where procedure takes over. Not emotion, not impulse. Procedure. The ship's SLQ-32 suite stays passive, but its memory is filling quickly. Frequency, strength, duration. Every signal captured and stored. Then the Russian ship surges again. 27 knots now. Its bow wave throws white water sideways, slamming against the American hull. The distance shrinks to half a nautical mile. Half a mile. At speeds like these, the time to react is counted in seconds. The captain makes his next call. Active visuals only, no radar. High-definition optics zoom in harder, picking out bolts, seams, railings. On the Russian deck, a sailor steps closer to the forward gun mount. He does not touch it. He does not need to. Just standing there says enough. In CIC, the contact status shifts. Possible hostile intent, not confirmed, but moving in that direction. At 6:39, the American ship's wake starts pulling at the Russian hull, a natural effect of size, displacement, and dangerous proximity. The Russian ship responds at last not by easing away, but by matching the sideways movement. Now they are balancing on the edge. This is seamanship at its most dangerous. Two warships only meters apart, neither giving ground, both capturing every second of it. The captain lets out a slow breath. Stand by to escalate presence. No weapons, no threats, just presence. Outside, the sea stays calm. The sky stays clear. There is nothing left to blame now except choice, as the range marker hovers just above 500 meters, and the Russian ship holds its line with precision that feels almost calculated. The situation leaves no room for doubt. This is not an accident taking shape. This is pressure being applied on purpose, and whatever happens next will decide whether it remains only that. At 6:41 local time, the next order is given in a quiet voice. Launch the helo. No alarms sound. No voices rise. On the flight deck, the MH-60 Seahawk comes alive, as if it had been waiting for the command from the very start. Rotor wash tears across the deck, pushing salt mist and shimmering droplets into the air. The deck crew moves with practiced precision. No panic. No wasted motion. This is not escalation. This is visibility. The helicopter lifts cleanly, banking low off the starboard side before dropping to 200 feet above the water. It does not charge toward the Russian ship. It matches pace with it. Inside the Combat Information Center, the live feed appears instantly. Forward-looking infrared, electro-optical zoom. The Russian vessel fills the screen. Hull number confirmed. Superstructure profile matched. Bridge windows occupied. The Seahawk settles into a broad orbit, close enough to be impossible to ignore, far enough to remain professional. Its arrival changes everything. What had been a flat ship-to-ship standoff becomes a three-dimensional problem. On the Russian deck, movement increases immediately. Sailors turn upward. Hands shield eyes. Binoculars rise. They see the aircraft, and they know what it carries. The helicopter crew says nothing at first. No radio call, no warning. Only the relentless beat of rotor blades cutting through the air. At 6:43, the sensor operator tightens the frame. Heat signatures bloom clearly now. Engines, exhaust vents, human figures. Every image captured. Every second marked. Back on the American bridge, the Russian ship's speed begins to drop. 27 knots to 24. Small change, big meaning. CPA stops shrinking. It does not widen yet, but it no longer worsens. The Seahawk shifts position, sliding forward along the Russian bow line, low and highly visible. Then the green laser appears. Not a weapon, a marker. The beam rests on the Russian bridge window, steady and unmistakable. A message that needs no translation. Moments later, the helicopter transmits. Russian naval vessel, this is a United States Navy aircraft. You are operating in an unsafe manner. Your actions are being recorded. The message repeats in Russian. No threats, no demands, just facts. For the first time since the encounter began, the Russian ship answers. United States aircraft, Russian Navy vessel conducting routine operations. Routine. The word hangs in the air, thin and unconvincing. The Seahawk keeps orbiting. On the Russian deck, sailors step back from the forward gun mount. Not rushing, not panicking, just retreating by inches. At 6:47, the Russian ship finally adjusts helm. A slight turn to starboard, barely noticeable on radar, impossible to miss in meaning. CPA widens to 0.9 nautical miles. The danger is not over, but it has paused. Inside CIC, the watch supervisor notes it calmly. Contact altering course slightly, speed decreasing. The captain gives one nod. Maintain presence. The Seahawk drops another 20 feet, its shadow sliding across the Russian deck. Cameras capture every reaction. This is measured restraint. Pressure without provocation. Presence without force. At 6:50, the Russian vessel slows again. 20 knots. Its wake shortens. The water between the hulls settles. The parallel track begins to loosen. Not retreat, but no longer pressure. The helicopter makes one final deliberate pass along the length of the ship. Laser off now. Sensors still recording. Every angle, every surface. Then it climbs. The Seahawk banks away and holds station above the American ship, rotors steady. Mission complete. On the bridge, no one celebrates. There is nothing to celebrate. This was not a victory, it was a correction. At 6:54, the Russian ship maintains its new course. Still nearby, still present, but no longer pressing. The immediate danger has passed. What remains is footage, logs, data, and the clear understanding that this encounter ended not because anyone opened fire, but because one side showed it was fully prepared if events moved that far. At 6:56 local time, the sea returns to a deceptive calm. The Russian ship remains off the starboard side, now increasing the distance by meters instead of closing it. The shift is measurable but delicate. At sea, intent can reverse faster than momentum. Inside the Combat Information Center, the plot steadies. CPA holds at 1.2 nautical miles. Safe on paper, still serious in practice. The American ship maintains course and speed. No pursuit, no withdrawal. The helmsman keeps the rudder steady, eyes fixed on the repeater. Every correction is intentional, nothing left to instinct. On the bridge, the captain studies the Russian vessel through binoculars. The forward gun mount is unmanned. Deck crew have moved back toward the superstructure. These are signals. Signals can mislead. Then the Russian radar goes quiet. No emissions, no sweeps. Silence at sea is not comfort, it is uncertainty. Inside CIC, the electronic warfare officer marks the change. All Russian emitters cold. The time is entered to the second. Silence can mean de-escalation. It can also mean preparation. No assumptions are made. The Seahawk remains overhead now at a higher altitude, flying a wide racetrack pattern. Its sensors stay active. The aircraft is no longer a signal, it is insurance. At 7:01, the Russian ship changes course again. This time, there is no ambiguity. 5 degrees to starboard, then another 2. The parallel track is broken. Distance begins opening steadily. 1.5 nautical miles, then 1.8. On the bridge, no one reacts outwardly. The captain says nothing until the numbers confirm what everyone can already see. They're turning out, the officer of the deck says quietly. No reply comes. The American ship does not mirror the move. It keeps its original heading, refusing to turn the encounter into either pursuit or withdrawal. That matters. At sea, posture becomes narrative. At 7:04, the Russian vessel slows to 16 knots. Its wake flattens. The water between the hulls smooths out. The danger curve begins to fall. Inside CIC, the hostile intent status is downgraded. Not cleared, downgraded. The difference is deliberate. This is how professionals end confrontations slowly, while keeping room to react if needed. The Seahawk begins descending toward the flight deck. Landing clearance is given without ceremony. The aircraft does not hurry. Even now, tempo matters. As the helicopter settles onto the deck, the rotor wash fades. The ship suddenly feels quieter. The silence is almost louder than the noise before it. At 7:08, the Russian ship is 3 nautical miles away. Still visible, still tracked, but no longer applying pressure. The bridge-to-bridge radio stays silent on both sides. This time, the silence is mutual. Inside CIC, sailors begin the careful process that follows moments like this. Video files are secured, sensor logs are backed up. Every frame, every frequency, every bearing shift cataloged. This is not routine reporting. It is evidence preservation. The captain steps off the bridge briefly, then returns for one final look at the horizon. his voice remains level. Resume normal watch. No stand-down announcement, no release of tension, just a return to routine that feels earned. By 7:12, the Russian ship has altered enough to pass astern. The closest approach is behind them now. The encounter is effectively over. Its mark remains. 2 warships met in open water, one applied pressure, one held position. Neither fired, neither wavered. The result was decided not by weapons or warnings, but by discipline. By refusing to overreact and refusing to surrender space that did not need to be surrendered. This was the line. It was approached, it was tested, it was not crossed. What follows is not escalation, it is documentation. Because at sea, the strongest move is often the one that leaves nothing open for debate later. And every professional sailor aboard understands one truth. Today's restraint can become tomorrow's leverage. At 7:16 local time, the Russian ship slips beyond immediate tactical relevance. Still visible, still tracked, but no longer shaping events. On the American ship, nothing changes outwardly. Course and speed remain steady. The wake stays straight. The bridge posture remains neutral. This is not indifference, it is continuity. Inside the Combat Information Center, the final phase begins. Not celebration, not commentary, accounting. Every system that transmitted is reviewed. Every system that remains silent is noted. Radar tracks are replayed second by second. Optical footage examined frame by frame. Electronic emissions, brief, low-power, deliberate, are isolated and tagged. This is where the encounter truly ends, not when the range opens, when the record is secured. The captain gathers a short, focused review on the bridge. No speeches, no opinions, only confirmation. Timeline accurate, logs complete, crew performance professional. The Russian ship continues on a diverging course, now 5 nautical miles out. Its silhouette shrinks against the horizon, no longer imposing, no longer relevant to navigation or safety, but not forgotten. At sea, memory is institutional. By 7:24, the event is formally closed in the watch log. The wording is precise, neutral, factual. Unsafe maneuvering by foreign naval vessel. No collision, no use of force. Nothing more is needed. Below deck, sailors return fully to routine. Maintenance resumes. Watch rotations normalize. The ship does not carry tension forward. That too is training. On the flight deck, the Seahawk is secured, blades folded, sensors cooling. Its mission is finished, but the footage it captured will move through secure channels, into analysis centers and briefing rooms far from the ocean where it was recorded. This is how leverage is built quietly. The Russian ship made its point. So did the American one. Only one of them now holds the complete record. At 7:31, the officer of the deck scans the horizon one final time. No new contacts, no change in sea state. The ocean appears exactly as it did before the encounter began. That is always the illusion. The surface never reveals what has shifted beneath it. This was not a battle. It was not a dramatic showdown. It was a measure. How close can you come? How much pressure can you apply? How disciplined is the response? Those questions were asked without a single word and answered the same way. No warning shots, no alarms, no headlines in the moment. But every professional Navy understands what took place. One ship tried to impose risk, the other absorbed it without drifting from course. That difference matters. By 7:40, the Russian vessel is outside the immediate operating picture. Radar track maintained, priority reduced. The sea lane ahead is clear. The American ship continues its transit exactly as planned. Nothing was gained through force. Nothing was lost through restraint. That is the lesson. Encounters like this rarely produce public statements. They do not come with official declarations or dramatic endings. They leave behind logs, imagery, and a quiet recalibration of assumptions on both sides. The Russian crew will remember the distance. The American crew will remember the discipline. And somewhere far from this stretch of open water, analysts will replay the moment when pressure met procedure. And procedure held. At sea, power is not measured by how loudly you act. It is measured by how little you need to. And on this day, that message was delivered without a single shot fired.